and the most important thing, or the most important lesson that we'll ever have to learn, is how to manage ourselves. How to manage ourselves. You know, one morning the Lord woke me up and said to me, if you become a better manager of yourself, you'll become a better manager of others. If you become a better manager of yourself, you'll become a better manager of others. You know, the definition of manager is a person who has control or direction of an institution or a business. Synonyms of that word is administrator, executive, superintendent, supervisor, and boss. Again, if you become a better manager of yourself, you'll be a better manager of others. And I believe when God said this to me, he was telling me how to make myself better. And so today I want to talk to you about being a better me. How many want to be a better you? Amen. You know, one thing I realized about being a better you is being better is an inside job. Let me say that again. Being better is an inside job. That's something you got to work on with you with. That's not something that you be better by what you do on the outside, because you can do all kinds of stuff on the outside and still be terrible on the inside. Being better is an inside job. Ask yourself these questions. Am I the type of person that I would follow? And the crowd goes silent. Are you the type of person that you would follow? Would you follow you? If you wouldn't follow you, how many others do you think want to follow you? Another question to ask yourself is, how well do I manage my most valuable resource, which is me? How well do you manage yourself? When God spoke to me about managing myself, he talked to me about quite a few things. But this morning, I only want to talk about a few of them. One of the things he talked to me about is, I have to be a better manager of my time. Say, I have to be a better manager of my time. You know, I thought about this. When you die, your headstone will tell people when you were born and when you left. But in between the number you got when you were born and the number you have when you leave is what? A dash. And what that dash does is that dash tells people what you did with your life and with your time. Benjamin Franklin said this: do you love life? Then do not squander time, for time is the stuff that life is made of. I'm getting deep on some of y'all today. But if we don't get better, nobody wants to stay on the same level. Even God says he wants us to go from one degree of glory to the next. And we have to be better with managing what he's given us. And our time is valuable, because the reality of it, we don't get a whole bunch of this. And you can't make up time. I remember John Wooden said this. He said when he was talking to his players in practice, he always wanted them to go 100%. He said, because you hear this phrase, oh, he's going 110%. He's giving 110%. John Wooden said, there's no such thing. At best, you can give 100%. At best, you can give 100%. So if you today give 80%, you can't give 120% to make up for the 80% you didn't give yesterday. So every day, you should go 100%. Give your best. Make that day the best, like it's the last day you're going to have. Because you don't get to make up that later on. James chapter 4, verse 14 in the Amplified says this. Yet you do not know the least thing about what may happen tomorrow. What is the nature of your life? For you are really but a wisp of vapor, a puff of smoke, a mist that is visible for a little while and then disappears into thin air. That's what the Bible says your life is. This span on this earth, that's what he's talking about. This span of time that you have on this earth is just a puff of smoke in comparison to eternity. But what you do during that puff will determine where you spend eternity. So your time counts. Your time matters. Your time is valuable. Your time is important. All of us have been given the same amount of time in a day. The difference between successful people and others is how they manage their time. Steve Harvey said this, I maximize every moment all day. Every moment of my life has a purpose. When I'm chilling for a purpose. When I'm resting for a purpose. When I'm working for a purpose. Everything I do, every moment of my life has purpose. When all of your time is accounted for, you don't have time to waste. Too many of us have wasted time. We just got time that we just sitting here not making the most out of. And God has really been dealing with me about that. I said, listen, you get into a place in your life, I'm about to hit 50. And I'm getting to a place in my life where I'm starting to understand I probably got more time behind me than I do ahead of me. And what am I going to do with the rest of the time that God has given me? What kind of mark am I going to make on this earth? What kind of legacy am I going to leave my natural children and my spiritual children? What am I going to do with this time that he's given me? Now, I can pray and ask God to accelerate my ability to get the things done that I believe that he's called me to do. Or I can just keep just letting life just kind of just happen and I just kind of flow with wherever life takes me. I choose to manage my life and my time. Now, in order to be a better person, another thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to manage your thought life. Say, manage your thought life. Because if I think I can't manage my life, then I won't. Some of us have never been taught how to manage our lives. You know, a lot of times, as children, all of the decisions for our life have been made for us. And we've never been taught how to make a decision. So then when we get married, we look for somebody who we can marry that will make those decisions for us because we've never made them. I need you to take control and manage my life because I don't know how. And what's crazy is the thing that you look for in that spouse is the very thing that you hate. I hate the way they control my life, but you gave them control. You were looking for somebody who would do it for you, but you hate it. I know I'm preaching better than y'all amening right now. And you get to a place you're like, you know what? I need to get away from this person because I want to live my life the way I believe it should be led. But I made this decision, I got to kind of stick with it. And thus the counseling sessions start. Proverbs 23 and 7, the A part says, for as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Henry Ford said this, thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason why few engage in it. Let me say that again. Thinking is the hardest work that there is, which is probably the reason why few engage in it. You know, not just thinking, but having clear, focused thoughts. When is the last time you were able to complete a thought? Think about that. You can sit down to think. The phone will ring, you'll get a text, you'll get an email, and it takes your focus off of what you were sat down to do, and you got distracted in your thinking. And so many of us have a hard time thinking for anything for any longer than a couple minutes. We have to learn how to focus our thinking, concentrate our thinking. Because if we're going to get better, we have to seriously think about what we're thinking about. Randolph Waldo Emerson said this: a person is what he thinks about all day. A person is what he thinks about all day. What do you think about all day? What gets most of your thought time? What gets most of your thoughts? That's who you are. Because as a man thinketh, another thing that we have to get control of, but let me say this before I go, and I'll get to the next point. When it comes to your thoughts, you have to make sure you govern your thought process, because your thoughts will determine your actions. How you think about somebody will determine what you do with that person or what you do about that situation. If all you do is think the worst about that individual or that situation, you'll never give that thing any value or that person any value. There'll be throwaways, there'll be castaways, that situation will always be minimized. But if you think valuable, if you think highly of that situation and that person, they'll be valuable. Another area that we need to manage is this: our emotions. Managing your emotions is very important, because if you don't consistently want, let me say this again, because you don't consistently want to supervise your life based upon how you're feeling in that moment. You don't want to consistently supervise, manage your life based upon how you're feeling in that moment. Because how many of you woke up in the morning and said, I don't feel like going to work? What happened if that's how you lived your life? You will never have to feel like going to work ever again, because you won't be. So your management has to be over your emotions. You know, your emotions are feelings that come from your flesh versus God-given thoughts that comes from your heart. Your emotions come from your flesh. How I feel about this situation, or how I feel about this person. Who cares? What does God say about this person? Or what does God say about this situation? What rules you? How God feels or how you feel? People can play with and prey on your emotions. That's called manipulation. And after you realize this has happened to you, it can cause you to get mad, be guarded, and harden your heart. When you feel like you've been manipulated, most people say, that will never happen to me again. I will never give anybody that kind of place to do that to me again. That area of my life is shut down to all the yous. And we think, okay, this is my safety mechanism. But really what it's doing is, the thing about it, when you begin to shut things off and you begin to kill things off, when something dies and it's attached to you, it don't just die there, it starts to spread. You get one cell of cancer in your life, and it spreads. And so when you let something die in your life, you just start to get hard about other things and other people. You just get to a norm where I just don't like people. And you in the ministry. Now, there is a difference between the pressure of being pushed to make a decision and being led by your heart from God to do something. Because manipulation will pressure you to make a decision. Come on, you need to make this decision. Are you going to help me or not? I just need you to know. Just tell me. I won't be upset if you don't help me. You lying. Because what manipulation does is they feel like you owe them that help. I'm expecting you to help me because I did this for you, I did that for you, I did this for you. You owe me this help. I done sowed this seed to reap this from you. Wait. Let me help you out with something. I'm not the reaper of anything for you. I don't bring your harvest to pass. You go to God for what you're supposed to give. So the minute you thought that I was supposed to make sure you got your stuff back, you just made the wrong decision. You got another thought coming. Because it is not my job to make sure you get what God is supposed to give you. So never let somebody push you to a place through emotion and manipulation. You owe me. I don't owe you nothing. I don't owe no man nothing but to love him. Period. In the story. So don't let somebody pressure you into making a quick decision out of your emotions versus stop, hold up, pump your brakes. I need to hear from God, and I'll get back to you when I get an answer. Pump your brakes. You ain't getting nothing else. You can't even give me a hint. I can't give you nothing. I'm giving you time for me to hear from God. Because I ain't got a yes in my heart. So if you want me to go with the way I feel, the answer is no. Keep it moving. But we got to manage our emotions, y'all. Over in Matthew chapter 9, verses 36 and 37, it says this. And Jesus went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he had saw the multitudes, he was, what does it say there? He was what? Moved with compassion on them because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep, not having a shepherd. Now notice this. It says he was moved with compassion, not moved by compassion. So what does that mean? He made a decision and his emotions lined up with the decision he made. Not his emotions led him to make a decision. He said he was moved and then compassion came with it. And that's how our decisions need to be made with our emotions. Make a decision and then let your emotions, if they come with it. Not make a decision because of your emotions. A good manager makes good quality business decisions and then lets the emotions fall where they may. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to make a good business decision concerning your life. Maybe some of your good business decisions is, I'm looking at you and you are not a good investment. I need to stop sowing into your life. Now, I got to let your emotions fall wherever they may concerning that decision. You may hate me, you may dislike me, but the bottom line is, you are not a good investment for me. Or, I'm in a relationship with this individual, but I can see this ain't going nowhere. We may have been together for 10, 15 years, but you know what? Ain't no rings on this finger, ain't no talk about no rings. I got to go ahead and let this go. I got to make a good business decision. You in the way of somebody I'm supposed to be marrying. Now, how you feel about it, the withdrawals you go through because you're used to us connecting and being together, that's on you. But I'm making a business decision, and I'm sticking with my decision. In times past, I've made bad decisions based upon relationship and loyalty, and I paid a hefty price for it. When God reveals the truth about someone or some sort of situation, don't override it. Too many of us have made the mistake of not balancing the difference between good business decisions and grace. We've so leaned on this grace side where they just give them another chance. Business says that's enough of that. That's managing your life. I got to make a good business decision. You've ran out of grace in this area. You frustrated the grace of me. And I got to do something about this because I'm looking at you and I'm watching you quack, I'm watching you swim, I'm watching you waddle, I'm watching you lay eggs, and you trying to tell me you a cat. You do everything like a duck and you trying to tell me you a cat. I am thoroughly convinced that you a duck and I'm ducking away from you. So many of us allow ourselves to get blinded by people and situations. Blindness is a lack of vision in your eyes, but the absence of vision is blindness in your heart. Let me say that again. Blindness is a lack of vision in your eyes, but the absence of vision is blindness in your heart. You don't know what you're supposed to see. You don't know what you're looking at. Another area that we need to manage is our finances. Say finances. Over in Luke chapter 16, I'm going to start at verse 1. But here's a person who looked at his situations and said, I got to do something about this. Luke chapter 16, starting at verse 1, reading this out of King James, and it said, and he said also unto his disciples, there was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods, his resources, his money. And he called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward. Here's a man that's like, listen, my job is in jeopardy here. My livelihood, I need to make some quick decisions. Then the steward said within himself, what shall I do? For my Lord taketh away from me the stewardship. And I can't dig, and to beg is shameful. I am resolved what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of the Lord's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much do you owe us, my Lord? And the man said, 100 measures of oil. And he said, take thy bill and sit down quickly and write 50, which is half. Then he said to another, and how much you owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take thy bill and write 80. And the Lord commend the unjust steward, because he had done wisely, for the children of this world are in this generation wiser than the children of light. What happened here? He was like, listen, I got to make some money moves quickly. So these debtors owe my master money. And they don't know when they're going to pay, and the master don't know when they going to pay. So this is what I'll do to make him see that I've been out here working. Hey, listen, man, how much can you put on your bill? How much can you put on this? You owe me 100, give me half right now. You can give me the other half. Notice how he didn't say, but I erased their debt. He said, nope, just give me some of what you owe me. Then he went to the other guy who had wheat. He said, listen, give me some of what you owe me. And so what did he do? He went back to the master with something to represent, I've been working. Something to represent, I've been a good steward over the resources you've given me. I may not have gotten it all, but ain't none of your other stewards got it all either. At least I came back with something. And the thing about us, when it comes to our money management, we need to make good business decisions to make us still be good stewards over our finances. Because when we first got married, me and Pastor Melva, I was a horrible steward over money. I didn't get any wisdom on how to manage my money. And I made a lot of money, but like Patrick Ewing said when they brought in all the basketball players and indicted them on what they were doing with their money, he said, listen, we made a lot of money, but we also spent a lot of money. What that got to do with anything, bro? But that's where I was. I was making a lot of money, but I was also spending a lot of money because I didn't have anybody telling me what to do with it, to invest it, to save it, because I was an unmarried man making money and getting paid every week. So all I had to do was live till Friday and re-up. Bought what I wanted Monday through Saturday, but went and re-back up on Friday, I promise you. But it was a horrible way to live because I had no wisdom on my future and preparing for what is my next place in life. And some of us financially, that's where we are. We don't know how to prepare for our future. If you are just relying on, at the end of 65 years, your retirement and your Social Security to take care of you, you can't even guarantee it's going to be there. We can't guarantee it's going to be there. You know, one of the greatest desires of most men is to take better care of their family and bring in more resources for their life. The question is, what are you doing with what you currently have? Making good financial decisions is just a matter of changing your mindset. If you keep thinking, I'll only have enough to barely pay my tithe, well, I don't have enough to sow right now and pay my tithe, then what will happen is, not only will you never have enough to pay your tithe, but you'll never have enough to pay the rest of your bills either. Because what tithing does, he said it, it rebukes the devourer for your sake. What is this? my insurance policy that I won't just get a flat tire this week. It's my insurance policy that won't nobody break my window. It's my insurance policy that my transmission won't go out this week. Yeah. You have to release whatever is necessary to get the blessing working in your life. Zechariah, first of all, start small. Don't say, hey, when I get all this money, I'll do this with it. I'll be wiser with the money when I get it. Start where you are. Zechariah 4:10 in the New Living says this: do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. He rejoices to see you start doing something to better yourself, better manage your finances. Matthew 23:25 in the New Living says this: the master said, well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. So now I will give you many more responsibilities. Now let's celebrate together. What does that tell me? God wants to celebrate with you on how you handle your finances, how you manage your resources. He wants there to be a celebration with him because you were a good steward. I know it's getting quiet in here now. We need to educate ourselves on our money, on investments, on life insurance. We have people among us right now who have educated themselves in these areas, and we need to tap into their wisdom. Miss Melanie, who's with Pastor Melville right now, she has a small group called Financial Peace University. And what that does is educate you on where your money's going and how to make your money make money for itself, how to make your dollars make sense. We have Miss Angie. She's an insurance salesman. For those of you who don't have life insurance, she can help you with that. Help you with a good policy that won't break you, so that when you leave here, everybody else ain't fitting the bill for it. You'll leave something for your family. And you say, but I don't know where the money's going to come from. Listen, neither are they. But why leave that burden on them? Get you a life insurance policy. I don't care if it's $20,000, at least the funeral's paid for. What is that, 6 cents a month? Whatever it is. You can't afford not having that cup of coffee? Get some life insurance. Yeah, your pastor's telling you to get some life insurance. Getting saved is eternal life insurance, but you need some earthly life insurance. P. Sharon said this: riches should be admitted into our houses, but not into our hearts. We may take them into our possession, but not into our affections. Take money into your possession, but don't take it into your affections. You've heard it said that the love of money is the root of all evil. I told somebody, I said, the lack of money is the root of all evil. If you think I'm lying, walk outside with some 20s hanging out your pocket and see if a whole bunch of evil don't come your way. 20th century entrepreneur Roger Babson said this: more people should learn to tell their dollars where to go instead of asking their dollars where they went. Let me say that again. More people should tell their dollars where to go instead of asking their dollars where they went. P.T. Barnum said this: money is a terrible master, but an excellent servant. Money is a terrible master, but it's an excellent servant. Another thing we need to learn how to manage is our family. Say, my family. Over in 1 Timothy chapter 3, it talks about the qualifications of a leader. Verses 1 through 5, and I'm going to read this in the New Living Translation. It says, "This is a trustworthy saying. If someone aspires to be an elder, he desires an honorable position. So an elder must be a man whose life is above reproach. He must be faithful to his wife. He must exercise self-control, live wisely, and have a good reputation. He must enjoy having guests in his home, and he must be able to teach. He must not be a heavy drinker or be violent. He must be gentle and not quarrelsome, and not love money. He must manage his own family well, having children who respect and obey him. For if a man cannot manage his own household, how can he take care of God's church?" He's saying how you manage your family is how you going to manage your church. How you going to manage the people that is up under you serving. If you let everybody just run willy-nilly and helter-skelter in your home, no rules, no regulations, no vision, no plan, no purpose, that's the same way you're going to run ministry. Because you can't flip that management light on and off. Either you're a manager or you're not a manager. Either you're an administrator, a ruler, a boss, or you're not that. But it's not an on and off switch that happens. Folks who are that way, it just happens involuntarily. But you also got to watch them folks because they can be control freaks. Yeah, it got quiet again. As a man and a husband, it is important to realize that the women in your life are looking for a leader, not a dictator. As strong as Pastor Melva is, she still wants to be led by her man, her head. And as men, you got to keep that in mind. Your wife wants you to lead her. She just don't want to be misled by you. And she don't want you to be a heavy thumb dictator. You do what I say in this house. This is my house. If you don't like it, if you can't live by my rules, the same door that you came in, you can get out. Really? You're going to be the loneliest man in the city. I don't know where people get that mindset from, especially with these new women. They making their own money, got their own health insurance, got their own vision. And if you don't treat them right, they can get their own place. The Bible says, "With loving kindness have I drawn thee." I have to manage the way I lead my family and my wife. I have to manage giving my children vision, affirming them, keeping them at a place where they understand vision is imperative. What do you plan on doing? And what are the steps that you're going to take to get that done? Okay, let's talk about your plan and see how that thing, let's weigh out the pros and cons of what you're talking about doing, and let's investigate and see which is the best way to get it done. That's what a good manager does. Looks at what you're doing and says, okay, this is how we receive the offering. Let's look at the way this is being done, ushers. Let's see how long that takes for you to bring that, to get those buckets out of here. Okay, that's taking too long. Let's reevaluate that, come up with a better strategy, and get that out of here quicker. Thanks, I like that way anyway. But that's what a manager does. He looks at what you're doing, evaluates it, and says, how can I help you be better at what you're doing? Not telling you how to do it, but give you suggestions on how to be better. Another area that we have to manage, and I'll close with this one, is we got to manage our business and our /ministry. We have to be men about our business and be a great manager of those who manage our business. Put people in the best possible situation for their greatest success. We got to stop defending what doesn't work. Too many of us are trying to defend, well, this ain't working, but this is how I do it. Maybe it ain't this that don't work, maybe it's you that don't work in this system. Let me help you out with something. The right way to do things is the way that works. Let me say that to you again. The right way to do things is the way that works. If it ain't working, it ain't the right way. That's real easy. How is this working for you? Horrible? Then it ain't the right way to do that. Let's reevaluate how we're doing that. That should be a constant reevaluation all the time in your life, in your thinking, in your business. And is this working? How's this working out for me right now? I remember my son was making a decision. You know, I gave him a suggestion. Listen, man, I don't think that's going to be sweet if you do that. I don't think it's going to work for you. So, I'm going to do it anyway. So, okay. Let me know how that works out for you. That's my exact verbiage. Let me know how that works out for you. Came back. Dad, that was horrible. Didn't work, huh? Yep. Because that means that was the wrong way to do that. You got to find out the right way to do that. You know, here at World Outreach, when we first started the church, we started off with what was called the Vision of 12. And when we started off with the Vision of 12, in order for you to be a member, it took you a year and a half of classes. And I thought to myself, I would never be a member of my own church. Because I'm not going to do a year and a half classes and not get no degree. A year and a half classes to usher, to work in a parking lot? Are you kidding me? And so what we found is that way did not work. Now we could have stayed with it. Look, that's the system we came up with. Like it or lump it. You can go to another church. But that's not what we did. We realized it didn't work. And so we went back and found a way that does work. We reevaluated what we were doing. And then we started the growth track. So what took you a year and a half, now it takes you 4 weeks. And what happened? More folks came to be members. Why? Because it works. More people are getting busy in the ministry. Why? Because that way works. So what does that mean? That's the right way. The other way was the wrong way. You had no idea. We'd have the church full of people, and maybe 10% of them were members. Because like, I am not doing that class, bro. I mean, all I got to do is your class 3 years, and I have a master's degree. You know, how do you know when something is working? When people come. How do you know when something's not working? When they don't come. People are telling you how they feel about what you're doing by their attendance. They're telling you. So if you're putting on these events and ain't nobody showing up, they're telling you, we don't like that. That's horrible, bro. Think of something else. But if everybody's flocking to it, what is that saying? We like that. Keep doing that. That ain't that hard, y'all. And what we do when stuff ain't working, we try to make it their fault it ain't working. So y'all just don't know all the God that's in what I'm doing. You can have all the God in the world, but if don't nobody want the person that it's coming from or the way that it's coming, what good is your God? I noticed some toes being crushed off that one. You have to be willing to change for the better. Admit when you are wrong and make the adjustment and move on. The Bible talks about old things passing away. If it's old and it don't work, let it die. Give it a good funeral and keep it moving. If you can change how you manage what you can control, then what you can't control will work itself out. Think about that. If I change how I manage what I can control, that'll just work itself out. Because I got stuff in position to take care of that happen stuff. But we got some better management to do of our lives, y'all. I don't know if this is going to be a series, but I know this is really dealing with character. That's really what this is about, is your character. Because I'm going to tell you something. God can elevate you to a place that your character can't keep you. Your character can disqualify you from a bunch of the places that God wants to put you in. So you got to be a better manager of you. How many of us want to better manage our lives? I mean, really. You know, when God began to deal with me about this, I'm like, okay. I got a lot of work to do on me. And you begin to think to yourself, man, with all of this work, where do I start? And he reminds me, inch by inch, it's a cinch. Inch by inch, it's a cinch. Pick out one area and work on that today. Pick out another area and work on that today. And what this requires you to do is constantly educate yourself. Constantly get your thoughts better. Constantly help yourself on how you think and check your emotions. Because I'm telling you, them emotions is something else. When you feel like somebody has done you wrong, you bring out the axe and just cut them off. Done. They're dead to me. That's the nature of us. You did me wrong. Listen, I'm not even trying to sew nothing back to you. I'm just cutting you off. I don't want to deal with you. And I'm going to be honest. I have to use my faith not to do that. You have no idea how much I hear about people talking about us. How much I hear about what people say. And the thing about people in this ministry, you got to understand, since the day we started this ministry, we've always prayed to God, Lord, don't let nothing happen in this ministry that we don't know nothing about. And somehow, some way, them little voices just get closer and we just hear about them. And we have to make a decision. Oh, you talking about me? And you working in ministry? You got to go, is what our flesh says. My flesh says, done. Go somewhere where you can talk about the pastor and do whatever you need to do there. But you're not going to work here and talk about me. But then my heart says, this is a Bible training center. Our job is to train them in this area. Obviously, they've been allowed to do it all these years in their life. Somebody has to be mature enough and say, ye who are spiritual, restore this idiot. But it's the truth. Somebody's got to be willing to stand up and say, help them. And not take what they say personal, even if it was a personal attack. I got to help you. First thing I need to help you is, listen, I hear whatever you say. You notice I've known you said this for a while, and my love for you has not changed. So what that says is those rumors that you've been saying about me ain't true, because you've been a recipient of my grace. And so we need to help you, because let me tell you, if you don't stop backbiting and causing all this division and bickering and slandering and causing this strife, the Bible says what strife is every evil work. When we first started ministry, we started to employ people. The first statement I made to every new employee, and I got all the employees together, and I looked at them, I said, listen to me. If I hear that there's any strife in this office, I'm firing you. None. I'm not tolerating it. I'm not putting up with it. Because how can you do a godly thing when there's evil work? Then my good business decision got clouded by grace. Just give them another chance. Like, but I said this. Help them. Give them another chance. Then I went back to God. I said, God, now you told me to do that. He said, and I never told you to stop doing it. You chose to do that. You let your emotions override the decision that I told you to make. And so now, if there's strife, they're gone. I'm trying to do a godly thing. I can't let it be clouded by ungodly stuff. So if that's the way you want to operate, you can operate as much as you'd like to in that area, just not in this ministry. Now, I know this wasn't a shouting message, but this was let's educate and make ourselves better. Because we need to be better us's, y'all. We really do. The better we are at managing us, the more responsibility God will give us, and the quicker we'll be elevated in the things that God has called us to do. So I want y'all to go home with these notes y'all took. Hopefully you took some, or buy this CD, and go home and listen to it and constantly reevaluate yourself. Most of us need to check up from the neck up anyway. Let's begin to look at, how is my thought process? How am I thinking about this? How is it affecting the rest of my life? How are my emotions affecting the rest of my life? How is my decisions with my family affecting the rest of my life? How is my managing of my time affecting the rest of my life? How is the managing of my business or my ministry affecting the rest of my life? How many of you are business owners here? Raise your hand. What would happen if you were a bad manager of your time with your business? Because most businesses get paid for the time. So if you were a bad manager of your time, how good would your family be if it's left up? Think about it, Shannon. If you took too long to train somebody when you could be doing, 10 people a day, but you're doing 3 people a day because you take it too long, how good would your family eat? You got to be a great manager of your time to make sure your family's well taken care of. So we just got to be better at managing. So with heads bowed and eyes closed, Father, we thank you so much for giving us wisdom, for opening up the eyes of